Hello and welcome to my channel. I've just returned from an incredible holiday in Brazil. When people think of Brazil, or they think of holidaying there, they think coastlines, big cities like Rio de Janeiro, which are great places to holiday. But on my recent trip, I spent time in a place called Lapinha da Serra. This place is 130 kilometers northeast of the capital of the state of Minas Gerais, north of Belo Horizonte. This place is known for its everlasting flowers, its towering peaks, and its history that extends long before the Portuguese arrived. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about how to get there, what to expect, and we're also going to talk about the indigenous history for the area. As a traveler, I always like to seek out unique experiences when I go to a place. I love the big tourist traps and I love the big things that draw people in, but I also like to look for what's unique about a place. And I think as an indigenous person, when I travel, I like to hear what the story is for the indigenous community. And the reason for this is I like to understand how colonization has played out in different parts of the world and compare it to my own experiences here in Australia. So with that, let's dive into it. To get to La Pinha, you have to drive through Santana do Riacho. This is the gateway to Serra do Cipó. As you enter La Pinha, you'll notice the landscape changes quite vastly as you start to climb the altitude. The roads become dirt roads, and the beautiful houses start to change shape. You'll also notice a silence that I found completely breathtaking. There are no high-rises, no hotels, no large tourism infrastructure that you can see on the surface level. But once you look beyond that, you start to see the real natural raw beauty of this secluded landscape. The culture in La Pinha is a mix of colonial history, indigenous ancestry, and rural simplicity. The township itself is relatively small, with only a small number of people living there all year round. They have various accommodation styles set up, Airbnbs, short-term accommodation, and posadas. As a visitor, you're reminded that there's a moment you entered into the town to slow down and to also respect local customs and traditions that are still present today. Walking around, you're bound to see horses roaming freely. You'll also see people who work the land in their traditional garb. They'll have their cowboy hats and their clothing, and you're meant to respect that culture when you enter the place. While in La Pinha, I wanted to do a guided tour. I also wanted to see the rock art sites that are out of town and on a hike. You can't actually access these on your own. You always need to be with a guided tour to ensure that these sites are respected and are not interfered with or destroyed. We chose to do our tour with Viva Ecoturismo, which I'll leave for links in the description as well. This was a 5-hour experience. It involved kayaking, a small hike, and a swim at a secluded beach at the end. This 5-kilometer round trip was more than just an exercise. It was about perspective. From the middle of the lagoon, you can see the backbone of the Espinhaço mountains. And our guides explained to us that the river was once a lifeblood for the local indigenous people, the Shukri Yubas and the Shivanshis. They were the local tribes who lived in the area and whose rock art we went and saw. They were living there long before the gold rush and suffered heavily because of colonization. After paddling along the river, you reach a little small beach. You park your kayak and then you walk up a ridge to reach the archaeological site. This is where the hidden story of Brazil that might not be as commonly known starts to come to life and it's visible. The rock art and the rock paintings are roughly 7,000 years old, and our guide told us that you can see evidence of there being 3 distinct groups over 3 different periods of time within that 7,000 years. The fascinating thing that I noticed and that we were told about at the rock site was these markings that were quite evident. These markings were a mark for each clan group that lived in the area. So each group had their own marking that was painted onto the rock at a certain point in time. And they're recognizable around the region for those groups who were traveling around. I found this personally really fascinating for someone who comes from Australia and seeing how indigenous groups do it on another continent. The best times to visit are between April and October. This is the dry season. It was Christmas time, and that's why I was in Brazil. So we went in December. And yes, it was the rainy season. The day started out really sunny, and we actually had a really incredible storm roll in over the mountains. And actually, we had to wait in the water while that kind of rainstorm had passed and moved through before we kayaked back. But definitely look into that before traveling. If you're wanting to go into, in the dry season, depends on what the river's doing and how if the kayaks can go out. So your tour will be very much guided by what's happening weather-wise. What to pack? Pack a small sandwich or something to eat for lunch and some snacks. Take some sunscreen, wear a hat, and definitely take water. You're out there for 5 hours and you want to make sure you're protected and you're covered and your belly has a little bit of food. Difficulty. This tour is rated as easy. There is a little bit of walking, so I would advocate wearing shoes you don't mind getting wet. We and other people in the group did it in wearing Havaianas in thongs. It wasn't difficult, but I would have preferred to have had some more protective shoes just for the walk up to the rock paintings. Guided tours. As I said earlier, you can't access the site without a guide, so it's really important to do a guided tour. You are essentially giving back to the local community. You're getting a lot of knowledge from really great people and who have a lot of local knowledge and can talk to you about some of the traditions of the area. And also, it's just you're covered, so that way you're safe if anything happens on the trip. Lapinha da Serra isn't just a destination, it's a reset button. It's a place where you can walk through the history of the world and also learn directly from the country and the people. If you're tired of the typical tourist traps, I highly recommend this, and I would advocate for you to seek out these experiences when you travel. If you've been to Brazil and you have a story to share about your experience, or you want to talk about your time if you've been to Lapinha da Serra, please leave a comment. I like to hear from people and I like to have a bit of dialogue back and forth. So don't forget to subscribe, like and share and comment. Thank you.